We'll see. Already the set's just, yay. Question to everybody in this crowd. Is there anybody out there that's been like written up for something ridiculous or gotten fired for something ridiculous? Okay, I see hand raised right here, like what was it? What happened?
I was supposed to get these privileges on a machine to use at work that they didn't give me, so they wrote me up for not using the privileges that they did not give me.
Yeah, see, incompetence, and then you get written up for that. Exactly. Well, I have an incident where it happened to me. I worked at a seafood restaurant in Red Lobster. You know, I'm gonna just throw them under the bus here. But when I was working there, they had a 4-course feast, all for like $14.99. You get a soup, salad, entree, and dessert. What a deal! So anytime somebody was able to finish it all the way up to the end, to the dessert, I'd be like, congratulations. Not a lot of people can do that. And most people laughed. Until one family. And you can imagine why they weren't laughing at the congratulations for making it to the dessert. The daughters are crying. The husband and the wife, they're just upset. They go to management. They complain about me. And then I get a write-up and it said James's table 23 was not happy with their server. They said he was loud, tried to be funny, and was not, and had a problem with sweating all over. But the worst thing was the comment he made to the kid, congratulations, not a lot of people can get to the dessert here. What I'm trying to say is that I got written up and nearly fired for trying to be funny, but I wasn't. So you guys are in for a great set tonight. Like the previous comment, Gabby, I am adopted, like very coincidental. But with my adoption, like, my parents said, oh, you were delivered like a pizza. And the nurse came with you and diapers and... Yeah, I was delivered like a pizza, but like a pizza with the wrong fucking toppings. Like, there's supreme pizza, and then I'm the Hawaiian pizza with way too much pineapple. Like, way too much pineapple. Way too much. And a problem with that is that, like, there's no return policy for, like, adopted kids. So, like, when my parents signed the paper and I was, like, acting up, there was nothing. Like, for instance, I ended up going to Catholic preschool. And I noticed that every single, classmate, anytime the whistle would blow at recess, they would come running right in. So I'm like, all right, I gotta get a whistle. So go to Walmart, get a whistle. The next day, I hide behind the slide, and all the kids are playing. Little Sally's on the swing, got little Johnny on the monkey bars, and then right as everybody's in like the middle of all that action, I blew the whistle. They dropped and ran to the door. I was able to pull this off for 3 times, to the point where the next parent-teacher conference, they said, yeah, you'd be better off in public school. So, went to public school and got tremendously bullied. To a point where I didn't know how to react to this. I didn't know who to get advice from. So I got advice from my brother, which was a bad idea. And he said, look, next person that makes fun of you, hit them, problem solved. So the next day, I was super excited to get bullied. I wanted somebody to make fun of me. I was a little bit of a chubby kid, a little fat, so I mean, I'm kind of fat now, but like back then it was really bad. Anyway, so it was like a scene out of Rocky, fists up in the air. I'm ready to get bullied. Finally, somebody makes fun of me. And at that moment, I realized I don't know how to fight. So I did what was commonly known as a bitch slap. Slapped them across the face. They're down on the floor crying, and I am triumphant throughout the entire day. Finally, bus gets out at the end of school. I'm running home. I go to my brother. I'm like, Steven, I did it. I took your advice. And that's when the douchebag decides to tell me, dude, not cool. You do not hit a girl. But obviously, the bullying didn't get easier after that, to a point where a teacher told me, well, you're going to like live in a cardboard box and amount to nothing. He told me these words in Nebraska. He's a math teacher in Nebraska. Do you understand how little that is? You know what's the most interesting thing to do in Nebraska? Go outside and listen to corn grow while being depressed. That's the best things to do in Nebraska. But one instance got really bad. So, I mean, obviously, like, everyone here is old enough to remember 9/11. Yeah? All right. So, a few days after the incident happened, a teacher ends up saying after a student asks, "Hey, how are all these people able to survive under the rubble for so long without any food?" And she says, "Look, these people store energy for all the food that they eat to use for later in dire situations such as this. And if hypothetically the school were to come crashing down, James would have the greatest chance of survival." She used the tragedy that killed over 2,000 people to call me fat. Sally didn't get to see her dad that day, but me being fat was more of an issue. There was a guy that jumped out of the Twin Towers, but me being fat was more of an issue. So, as an adult, I look back at everybody and on Facebook who bullied me because I have nothing better to do with my life. And I see that most of them, if not all of them, still live in Nebraska, so I win. Like, seriously, like, you'll see, Nebraska's a crappy state, and I've also lived in Missouri, but you'll see, like, advertisements for, like, every state. They'll be like, "There's no place like Massachusetts," or "There's no place like Nevada." Like, yeah, like, I would consistently hear, like, these, like, advertisements in Florida about the Midwest. Like, "There is no place like Missouri." Yeah, but it doesn't mean, like, anybody wants to fucking go there. Like, I will explain Missouri in a nutshell. I ended up going into an apartment complex. I was helping people move. And it was like one of those elevators, like, anybody watch Wayne's World, like the first one or second one? That elevator that goes up and down and it's like a crankshaft or whatever. So I'm in there and a crackhead comes into the elevator with me. And I have to go up 3 floors with this crackhead who's conversing with me, trying to be my friend, trying to sell me drugs. But thankfully the elevator opened and I was able to get out. But the whole state of Missouri is that elevator situation with the crackhead, but you can't get out. Like, at all, not even a little bit. So, like that crackhead, I don't have a lot of money. Never did. I went to a strip club once. And anybody enjoy the strip club that's not Showgirls? Anybody been to a strip club? Yes, no, maybe? All right, cool. Fantastic. So I go to the strip club because my buddy wants to spend a lot of money, but he's bringing me along so he doesn't spend too much. So he pays for my cover charge, and I'm just not having a good time. But the stripper kept coming up to me, and she's like, "So you want to dance? Maybe later. I don't know." She did this to me about 5 times. And I'm like, "Look, I don't have the money. My buddy over there who's getting his 4th dance, he has the money. Talk to him, work something out." And she looks at me up and down. She's like, "You seem like you're old enough to have your own money, though." So, like, what am I supposed to do in that scenario? Like, am I supposed to, like, go to the ATM immediately after? Like, "I'll show this bitch." Ugh. I did, though. They don't allow 10s to pop out. It's like a minimum of like $100. I had $12 in my account. So, nothing could have came of that. But, like, as I was saying, like, I'm poor now, but I grew up poor. I grew up poor, like, really bad. To a point where, like, we would have breakfast for dinner. Anybody, like, live that lifestyle, breakfast for dinner? All right, like, so we would have, like, Spam and eggs, sausage and eggs, fucking Bisquick. Disgusting Bisquick. So, obviously the kids get fed first. And, like, we didn't have, like, a lot of sausage, and my mom's like, "Look, what do you want to eat for dinner?" I'm like, "A sausage and eggs with cheese on top, please." So she makes it for me. As she puts the plate down, she says, "Look, if you keep eating sausage and eggs like that, you're going to die of a stroke." You know what a stroke is, James? A stroke is basically a heart attack, but for your brain. Do you know how awkward that is to hear as a 6-year-old while there's a sausage smile and scrambled egg eyes like looking up at you? It's difficult. And then I could just hear my dad in the background like looking in the fridge and he's like, we're out of sausage? Biz Quick again? Son of a bitch. Like, you're the one who adopted him, not me. So, we ended up eventually, like, at least for my dad, eventually got out of poverty, like, at least in that area. Like, the moment where, like, we had to come up was, like, when we ended up walking to a house with central AC, and then also a Papa John's was in our district. It was a really cool time. But, like, then we eventually moved to Florida after my grandma died. My grandma left, like, money in her will for us to be able to move to Florida. But in that like week time span, like that she was on her deathbed, we get invited to go up to New York to visit her before she passes away. And I don't know about you guys or anybody's like been to a funeral, anybody had to go out of state for a funeral, a wake, memorial, anything of that sort. Okay, so I had to do the same. And do people like look down upon you like when you're trying to have a vacation in the same token as like going to the funeral? Because like, again, like, I'm not going to have my grandma die and ruin my good time. And I jerked off in my aunt's house so much in that entire week. My cousin ended up showing me, like, adult videos on LimeWire. And I got super stoked about that. So that entire week, did that. We go back down. And eventually, like, we moved to Florida. And I finally, like, I'm, like, 16, have a relationship. But I'm still having this habit carry over to me. And my girlfriend at the time did not like the fact that I watched those videos, to the point where she sent me suggestive photos, and then she calls me immediately after she sends them and she says, tell me what you think. And I'm like, I like the position you are in photo number 4, and then it's not too grainy, that's okay. She's like, let me hear how much you enjoy it. Yeah, so good. So good. Oh, they were so good. I'm done. I gotta clean up. And then I hung up the phone and then watched the video so I can actually do it. So she's pissed off, and then she's like, you need to tell your parents you have a problem. So I go to my mom and dad, and I'm like, look guys, I have an addiction to pornography. And my mom immediately flips out. She's like, you disgust me, you piece of garbage. I can't even look at you to know that you watch that disgusting thing. She looks at my dad, she's like, Steve, go and get his computer out of the room. He's done, it's over. And my dad grabs the computer and he looks at me and just goes, so he ends up pulling me to the side later, and I'm just ready to get chewed out by this guy. And he looks at me and he's like, dude, you didn't have to say anything. If you just shut up, you can enjoy that tonight. But now I gotta do this to you. I am so sorry. Eventually, they got used to it, and I got my computer back. But one day, I get out of my room and go to the kitchen to talk to my dad. And then I could just hear my mom at the corner of the room go, don't touch his hands, they're dirty. And that walk of shame that I did to the bathroom, as my dad's looking at me, going, I'll never forget. But here's the thing, guys. This would have never happened. The videos would have never happened. None of this would have ever happened if my grandma didn't die and leave my parents money to come to Florida. I would have never found out about porn if I didn't go to my cousin's place. So fuck you, Grandma. Seriously. But every time my parents look at me with like a hateful look in their eye, I always think of my grandma, so legacy lives on. Who hates Applebee's? Well, this joke's for you guys. I had a friend who, like, she was on the good old Tinder OkCupid, whatever app she uses. There's like 50 of them now. And she brings some guy over for like a Netflix and chill session, but like literally all she wanted to do was watch Netflix, chill out, and that was it. But the guy that came over, like, long story short, she's holding a gun in her room, yelling at him to get the fuck out because it got that bad. So the next day he texts her and he's like, look, I normally don't make advances like that. I'm normally not like that. Let me make it up to you. Let me take you to someplace nice after work, you know, like Applebee's. You nearly sexually assaulted somebody and you're gonna try to make up for that by taking them to Applebee's? Do you know how sketchy Applebee's is? I've witnessed somebody purchase crack at Applebee's. That's how sketchy it is. And she's not having it. So, the next day he decides to up his game, sends her a little a penis photo, is that what they call it, or dick pic, whatever. And just for all the men out here that still do that shit, there's not a single woman in here that wants to put a bow on and pet a dick. The shit does not look cute. Stop sending them, like, immediately. Stop it. I don't even want to pet my own dick, let alone, like, a woman to do it to somebody else. It's disgusting. But she's still not responding, so the next day, he texts her one more time. He's like, look, at the very least, which means that Applebee's and the dick pic were on his, like, upper level of, like, how to get this girl back, and he's like, can I at least pay you to eat your pussy out while you take a shit? So if I ever ask a girl for a bumpkin, well, actually, woman, like, that would be weird if I said girl, ugh. But if I ever asked a woman for a bumpkin and she said anything but no, fuck that. And this person thinks he can get away with it. These types of people disgust me. They're vile, they're just... I don't want to deal with them, but the thing that pisses me off even more than anything else is, seriously, Applebee's? Chili's has a way better 2 for $20. My name is James. You guys have a good night. Thank you.